Thank you for listening to Blue Sky Horse Radio. I'm Yenny, and this is at CKMS 102.7 FM Radio Waterloo. And I'm excited today because I'm speaking with Janelle, and I follow her on Instagram as Mini Wikoni, and she's Indigenous. And if you've been following anything in the media right now, there is protests, and information needs to be getting out there regarding what's happening with the Line 3 pipeline, and there's lots of other stuff going on. So thank you so much for coming on Blue Sky Horse Radio. Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Jonelle Redhawk. I am a Ho-Chunk and Santee Sioux and Sichong Sioux from South Dakota. I grew up in Flandreau, South Dakota, and the last 20 years I've spent on Anishinaabe land in Minnesota.
Wow, that's really amazing. So yeah, thank you for speaking with me, and I appreciate that you're taking the time, and I appreciate also that I was able to find you on Instagram. So there's lots of movement happening, and right now, as I've been following, obviously people are trying to get some information and getting some awareness to this. So what's actually happening regarding the Line 3 pipeline?
There's lots of actions going on. I know that there was some actions in D.C. and Chicago, so there's actions all over to stop Line 3 as they near the end of the building of it. Line 3 is a 1,997-mile crude oil pipeline that's going to stretch from Edmonton, Alberta to Superior, Wisconsin. It's a Canadian pipeline, and they're planning on replacing the pipeline that's already in place, which is a 34-inch diameter, and they want to make that a 36-inch diameter pipeline. And so they're going to replace a lot of line, and they're going to add a lot of line. And the line that they're going to add is going to cross a lot of lakes and rivers and aquifers in northern Minnesota and a lot of treaty lands. So that's why we're real concerned about it, because like water is life. Mini Wachoni.
That's right. So actually yesterday I was looking at some of the media, and it looks like people are creating awareness even in some of the regarding some of the political places. I'm not sure where that was, where people are sort of like chaining themselves to somebody's, like the person's building, like outside of the, do you know what I'm talking about? Did you see?
They're Camp McGeezy, I believe is who you might be talking about. There's Camp McGeezy, and there's the Red Lake Treaty Camp. These are young water protectors that have really taken the lead on fighting this Line 3 pipeline. And I believe just last night, I don't remember the exact number. I want to say 13, but don't quote me on that. People were arrested because they were chained to Tim Walton's house. They brought it to his front door, so he can't ignore what's going on. And they were outside of the Capitol Wednesday.
Yeah.
They camped out and spent the day. Yeah.
So people are currently arrested for trying to bring awareness to this?
Yes. Yep.
I
wish I would have wrote down the numbers. I think currently there's been 300 people that have been arrested for trying to stop this pipeline. And the thing is, too, is that what gets me is that they're peacefully protesting this pipeline. They do chain themselves down to stuff, but they're not out there hurting anybody or doing anything wrong. So I don't understand why they're being treated the way that they're being treated.
Right. Yeah, so who is the opposition on this?
We're up against Enbridge, and Enbridge is a corporation, and a corporation is a really tough adversary, and they have a lot of money on their side. Yeah. So that's what we're up against. Whoever made money from this pipeline is who we're up against. So if Tim Walz has accepted any money for Enbridge, that's what we're up against. However much money that they gave him, it's hard to change people's minds when they've seen a large dollar amount, and I think that's kind of where we're at here with this pipeline.
So how this refers to treaties and the countries not respecting the treaties that they have got themselves into with the native people. Like, obviously this is running over a lot of native land.
Yep. Mainly the Anishinaabe, who would also be the Ojibwe and Chippewa.
Yeah.
So this is mainly their treaty rights that the Line 3 is, I can't think of the word, violating.
Yeah. And it's scary to think about, too, the water resources that are being affected, because it's a very big risk, obviously.
That's why I've been involved since 2016. It's a big deal. You know, water is everything. Our bodies are made up of 60% water, and we just can't exist without water. So to me, it just baffles me that we even have to fight these pipelines or even say anything, because it just seems like everybody should understand how important it is that we don't pollute what fresh water that we have.
Yeah, exactly. That's really dangerous.
Yeah, and then with places like, you know, I had talked to you about Lake Mead, and places all over, I think even in Hawaii, they're telling people to ration out their water usage. And we've already gotten to that point where we have to watch how much water we're using. But then yet, at the same time, they're allowing Enbridge to extract 4.9 billion gallons of groundwater. And that makes no sense to me, while they're asking all of the rest of us to, you know, abstain from using water as much as we can.
No, that doesn't make any sense. No.
Mm-hmm.
No, people have rights before corporations, for sure. That's
the way it is, but...
Is there any foreign interest, or like, is anything owned by foreigners? Like, is there any outside of North America ownership of any, like Enbridge obviously is involved, but like, as far as you know, is any foreign corporations involved?
No, I haven't really looked into anything like that. I just know Enbridge is Canadian. It's a Canadian pipeline, but
Yeah.
I haven't looked at anybody else who might be involved with it.
Yeah. You mentioned off air earlier that there's a connection between Line 3 pipeline and missing and murdered Indigenous women. Could you speak about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Missing, murdered, and Indigenous women and man camps they're one and the same. Where these man camps pop up, women are 10 times more likely to be killed than the average national average. And that's just what's reported. I mean, I imagine there's hundreds of cases that just don't get reported.
Oh, wow.
There's also, hold on. So what man camps are, they're temporary settlements of workers that come to work on these pipelines. And along these pipeline routes, like I said, that there's a tenfold increase of what missing, murdered, and Indigenous women that start happening when these pipeline man camps come up. Through a number of studies and through witness and criminal reports, it connects these man camps with the increased rates of sexual harassment and trafficking. And just in February, some pipeline workers associated with the Line 3 pipeline were arrested for sex trafficking.
Oh, wow.
And there's also a stretch of highway, I forget where it is, but there's a stretch of highway called the Highway of Tears, because there's so many man camps along the highway, and all these cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women are happening there. So they're tied together, you know.
That is definitely so underreported.
Yep.
And like not really mentioned in the media, like as important information to speak about, or even the connection that you brought up. I can see why they don't want to talk about it, but that's really important to talk about, obviously.
Yeah, if you look into man camps and missing, murdered, and Indigenous women more deeply, I mean, there's lots of stories, and they're just heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And these pipelines, you know, they go through rural areas. So, and a lot of those rural areas are occupied by reservations.
That is absolutely tragic. Oh my
It's
god.
kind of, I don't know what they thought was going to happen because they have all these people come in from all over, I assume the United States, and it's mainly males in these man camps.
Yeah.
So, and then they put them in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yes. Well, what can we do to help?
There's lots of things you can do to help if you want to follow and get any updates on what's going on with the Stop Line 3. You can follow people like Honor the Earth. These are all Instagram pages. I don't really use Facebook or anything else like that, but Honor the Earth. I know that Winona LeDuc's page, MN350, Friends of the Headwaters, and then, like I mentioned before, the Red Lake Treaty Camp and Camp McGeevy. Also, Resist Line 3 and Lakota Law are all people that you can follow for current events and updates.
Thank you. That's really great. Wow.
Yeah.
And you
you can also text PUCZGE to 50409 to support the water protectors, and by doing that, you will be sending a written email to your local government official if you're within the United States listening to this.
Oh, that's really great. Could you please repeat that?
PUCZGE to 50409.
Okay, thank you. That's really great too. So obviously, like, this kind of brings back to mind also Standing Rock and how many people came out to help, and actually people from around the world travel to Standing Rock. Maybe now it's a little bit different because of COVID, there have been restrictions, but this is the kind of thing that people do care about, and the environment is something that we all need to obviously think about because we rely on this planet that we live on. So this is something that concerns everyone.
Yeah, we need to protect the sacred. I mean, water is sacred because it's something that we all need and we use every day. I mean, this is affecting, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when this pipeline will break. Enbridge has had over 800 oil spills in the last 15 years, and they're also responsible for the largest inland oil spill in U.S. history. And that was 1.2 million gallons of water on the Kalamazoo River in 2010. So it's not if, it's when. And they've now put another pipeline next to the Great Lakes. And that's what's very concerning to me because a lot of people get their water supply from the Great Lakes. And so I don't understand why they can't reroute it and that's another thing too, because we're supposed to be trying to make it so this Paris Climate Agreement, we have goals that we're supposed to be meeting. And this pipeline puts us out of reach of those goals that we're supposed to make. And climate change is here. We're living it right now. This is probably the first summer I spent with most of the summer. I've smelled and seen another state burning. I mean, we had clouds of smoke from California, from Seattle, from Canada, and now even Minnesota is on fire.
Oh my gosh.
So we have all these fires burning all over the place. We're facing drought, and we're also at the same time trying to build a pipeline that we don't need if we're going to make the changes that we need to make to meet the Paris Climate Accord agreement.
Right. It's almost like for some people, maybe the climate change effects haven't happened to them yet, and maybe they can't feel it. But if you're living in an area, you can certainly see it. And I mean, if you follow the news too, for us who live here in Ontario, where I'm at, there's wildfires in northern Ontario, but obviously in British Columbia and Alberta, Saskatchewan and Manitoba, like there's been wildfires, and I think this has been a really extreme year again. And it seems like every year there's another heat record. And just like you mentioned with the drought, these are really extreme questions that we're talking about and that we all rely on good answers for.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, do you want to give any shout outs to anybody, any particular person or people that you'd like to highlight?
No, just not other than, I just much respect to Camp McGeezy, Red Lake Treaty Camp. I appreciate everything that they're doing out there. Our future generations are just really making me proud. And then also Lakota Law and Honor the Earth. Winona LeDuc has been fighting this for a long time. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a meme that goes around. I wish I could pull it up and so I could say exactly what it says. But she asked the question, why are we considered? I'm just paraphrasing, but why are we considered terrorists for wanting clean drinking water, and the corporations are not?
Right.
Basically.
Yeah, it's all about the narrative, right?
Yeah. That's the question we all know. We all want to know, why are we wrong for trying to stop this pipeline, but they're okay for trying to poison our drinking water during a drought? I don't know. Yeah, we talked about them extracting 4.9 billion gallons of water. That's mind blowing to me during a drought.
Yeah.
Mind blowing and heartbreaking.
Yeah, yeah. It's maybe those people are not connected to. They feel safe themselves, and maybe don't think that they're going to have to worry about water or clean water. But I mean, that is something that we actually all need to be concerned about. And so much land is involved too. That's vast areas of land, lots of land, wildlife, and the earth itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that I think people need to remember too, because Enbridge is a corporation. It's not a person. Enbridge does not need water to survive. Enbridge needs money to survive.
Yeah.
And Enbridge isn't going to listen to us and be like, oh no, maybe this is a bad idea. It's a corporation.
Yeah.
That it's here to be a corporation, and that's it. So it's us that, we have to boycott any banks that are financing them. Talk their language, you know what I mean? Enbridge, they speak money. And so we need to start boycotting these banks that are financing them. There's over 6,000 products that are made from oil and gas, and we need to stop divesting from all of them. I mean, we're feeding a giant monster that we're trying to fight at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's a big one. I was watching something on YouTube the other day, and it was talking, I think it was actually on Joe Rogan. It was an episode of Joe Rogan's where they were talking about, with one of his guests, all of the petroleum products that are out there, and even they put it into food, so like petroleum in food sounds like it doesn't go together, makes sense that we don't put petroleum products in anything we're going to eat, but it's just everywhere, and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, and plastic is one of the things that's made from oil and petroleum. And just recently, I read an article that they have found plastic in a woman's placenta. So plastic is inside of us now. We're born with plastic.
Yeah. No, that's gone way too far.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy. It's something that's easy to go to, and apparently it's easy and cheap to make, and so it's just everywhere now. It's in everything that we use, and we need to start moving away from that.
Yeah.
I actually went to a history museum recently, and I can't remember the date of the stuff I was looking at, but it was old. And I was just beside myself at how many things they had back then that were reusable and durable and not made of plastic.
Yeah.
Like almost anything you think of, they had it made out of iron or steel or some type of metal.
Yeah.
And things that we have nowadays that we use and we throw away, they had stuff that had longevity to it. I mean, I don't understand why some things change. I can't think of, I guess the only thing I can think of off the top of my head was probably, and this is the worst one, I wish I could think of a better one, but they had a waffle maker on a big, huge cast iron stove, and it was just built into it. And that's something that nowadays we make out of plastic.
Right, and you plug it into the wall, so then you need electricity too.
Yep, and this was run with a fire, it was a fire stove, we just put fire in it.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're so right. And people are becoming aware, but like you mentioned, big corporations are really the oppositions, like a company that exists to make a profit. And if they, you know, if it's really more negative, then how come we allow something like that to even exist?
Yep. And we just need to educate ourselves. We need to educate more people, and we need to educate ourselves about what exactly these corporations are doing, what they're making, and the processes that they're using. I mean, we need to know all about it, because when we're not watching in our comforts of our home, while we're not watching, this stuff is going on. I mean, Enbridge grew into this huge company, and they're basically leading the earth into climate change, into a climate disaster. And it's not just them either. It's like Shell. I don't know if you ever heard about Exxon News. I mean, these oil companies knew many years ago that their products was bringing on climate change. They knew.
Yeah.
They did it. They paid politicians to hide it, to say climate change is a hoax. And now we've come to a point where you can't even hide behind that no more. You can't tell anyone climate change is a hoax, because we smell it in the air.
Yeah.
You know, many times I wasn't even able to go outside this summer because I would just choke because of the smoke. It was so thick. And so it's not something we can even hide from anymore. We just need to educate ourselves and get through this the best we can.
That's right. Well, thank you for talking with me today, Janelle. Is there anything else that you wanted to leave off with?
I do want to say one more thing.
Yes.
I know I promised I wouldn't talk off your...
No. I said you can talk as long as you want to. It's okay. It's good.
Between 1778, I just want to leave this with you. Between 1778 and 1871, the U.S. has entered into more than 500 treaties with Native tribes, and all of them have been violated or broken. And that's why we say stolen instead of conquered, because these treaties are what allowed U.S. to become what it is today, and they haven't upheld any of their treaties. And now their lies and them not upholding their treaties is now causing a problem for all of us. By the possibilities that Enbridge pipeline that they're putting into our water system could break.
Yeah.
So that's become a problem for everybody, not just Native tribes.
No, you're right. Is there any effort from the government side to reconciliate or to hold their end of the deal on any of these treaties?
No. No, complete silence. If they have, I haven't heard about it, but it's been complete silence as far as upholding any of these treaties. And that's the way it's always been. They don't acknowledge what they do wrong.
Well, thank you for speaking with me here today, and I really appreciate that. Thank you there was lots of important information, and I'm going to share it. Yes, and in the future too, if there's other people that you think we could speak with, that would be great too.
Yeah, absolutely. I will forward you some other people who might have more to say about this.
Sure. Well, that's great. Thank you so much, Janelle.
Yeah, thank you.